Hello and welcome to Rounding Third, brought to you by Podbean.com. You can find us at roundingthird.podbean.com.
You can also email us over at roundingthirdbase.gmail.com.
Find us on our new Facebook page. That's facebook.com/roundingthird. And you can catch up with us here on our Facebook page. Welcome to the show. My name's Chris Wilson. Alongside of me here is
Zach Delyden.
And Zach, why don't you tell us what's going to be on this show this evening?
We've got an exciting episode in store for our listeners, Chris. We have end results of the World Baseball Classic. We've got some Phillies news, and we've also got some updated stats from spring training with the regular season just a week away.
Yeah, and our first story here is about the World Baseball Classic that finished up last night, and Dominican Republic shut down Puerto Rico 3-0 in their win to take the World Baseball Classic. And Zach, do you want to tell us a little bit more about what happened last night in the game?
Of course I would. Edwin Encarnacion got things started when he doubled to deep center, scoring Jose Reyes and Robinson Cano in the first inning to put the Dominicans up 2-0. And then in the fifth, Eric Ibar doubled to deep right, scoring Alejandro de Aza for the third run of the game. And from there on out, the Dominican Republic, as you said, just continued to shut down Puerto Rico's offense. And Fernando Rodney came in the ninth inning and recorded his seventh save of the Classic.
And in this game, the Dominican Republic pitching held Puerto Rico to just 3 hits, one apiece from Angel Pagan, Mike Avelis, and Jesus Feliciano. And in their semifinal game, Puerto Rico beat two-time defending champion Japan 3-1.
And in order to get to the big dance, the Dominican Republic defeated the Netherlands, a surprise to make the semifinals, 4-1 in their matchup. And in the final game of the Classic, Jose Reyes and Eric Ibar each had 2 hits, while Edwin Encarnacion had 1 hit with 2 RBIs to pace the Dominican Republic to their victory.
And Robinson Cano had a huge Classic. He finished this Classic batting .469. He had 2 home runs, 6 RBIs, 6 runs scored, and then 2 doubles. And he also earned MVP honors in each of the first 2 rounds.
Yeah, and when you look at these 2 lineups, I mean, the Dominican Republic, they both have really good, really strong lineups. But when you look at them side by side, the Dominican Republic is just stacked offensively. Jose Reyes is a good guy to get on base. He's really come into his own the last couple of years as far as vision at the plate and being able to get on base consistently. And you got Robinson Cano, he's always good. Hanley Ramirez and Miguel Tejada, Nelson Cruz, Carlos Santana, the list goes on and on. And I mean, it's no surprise when you look at these 2 teams that the Dominican Republic was able to come out with the win. All right, and with regular season about to get underway within the next couple weeks here, we've got some updated stats for this year's spring training. When you look at the pitchers for the entire major leagues, what stat jumps out at you most, Chris? Is it wins, saves, or ERA? What is most important to, not just to you, but to a pitcher?
Yeah, Zach, the ERA is actually what I really look at when I see a pitcher's stats there.
Exactly. That is the correct answer, Chris, because a pitcher can have, not so good earned run average, but still have an offense that's good enough to get him some wins. But in the long run, the pitchers with the lower ERA are going to wind up having, more wins anyway because they give their team a greater chance to win. So with that in mind, we're going to look at the top 5 ERAs in the major leagues right now. Number 5 is Atlanta's Julian Teheran. He's got a 1.35 ERA. Number 4 is actually Philip Humber of the Houston Astros, who actually, Humber came on quite strong last year with the White Sox, actually pitched a perfect game, and then after that kind of just, fell off the face of the earth. But right now he's rocking a 1.29 ERA. Up next, we've got Brandon Maurer. He, of course, is on the Seattle Mariners, and he has a 1.20 ERA. And then the top 2 here, Chris, may be a surprise to both you and myself. In the number 2 spot, we've got John Lester, left-hander out of the Boston Red Sox organization.
Really?
He has an ERA right now of .90, and in the number 1 spot, fellow lefty Jonathan Neese of the New York Mets with a 0.71 ERA. So while spring training, isn't a tell-all for the upcoming season, it's certainly a good sign that these young pitchers are performing well thus far.
Yeah, Zach, and now on the hitting side, what would you see to be most important, or what sticks out to you that you've seen so far in spring training? Is it the hits, home runs, RBIs, anything like that? What do you think would stick out the most?
Well, baseball's all about the home run, Chris.
And you are absolutely correct, and I have basically a top 5 countdown here of, top hits right now during the spring training season. And to start us off is Freddie Freeman out of the Atlanta Braves. He is a first baseman, and he has 7 home runs so far. Dominic Brown out of the Philadelphia Phillies organization, he's hitting at 6 home runs so far, and tied at 6 as well. Michael Morse, and he's out of the Seattle Mariners. He's a left fielder, and he's got 6 as well. And then Jason Castro with 5 out of the Houston Astros organization. And then also we have Christopher Davis out of the Milwaukee Brewers organization. He also has 5 home runs during his spring training season. So as you can see, Zach, as we said, home runs is always a really cool stat to look for within the spring training season. Now, here is some interesting information out of the Phillies organization. Roy Halladay, he was pulled after 1 inning, and they're apparently blaming this on some kind of illness. But, Zach, you don't really think that's the case for Roy Halladay. What do you think's going on with him right now?
Well, it most certainly could be illness. I'm not saying that it's not, but Roy Halladay is 35 years old. He has shown signs of slowing down, especially last year. He was injured a little bit, nicked up early on, and he never really got going until towards the end of the season. And in his first start this spring, he just got rocked. He gave up a total of 7 runs, walked 4 batters. He hit another batter, gave up 2 home runs to the Detroit Tigers in just 2 2/3 innings. And his fastball was clocked somewhere between 86 and 88 miles per hour, which is, coming down quite a bit from what he's normally thrown. It's just natural to see a guy of his age slow down as the years, go on. So I'm more likely than not, I'm going to say that this may be the beginning of the decline for Roy Halladay.
Yeah, and it says that basically he's going to hope that he can make his next start on Saturday. The Phillies take on the Baltimore Orioles, so I guess, we'll see what goes on there. But, Zach, as we were talking about before here, before we came on the air, we were talking about what impact would this have on the Phillies pitching rotation. What do you think that's going to do to the Phillies if we see a decline happening with Roy Halladay?
Well, even if Roy Halladay is not at his best, he can still be a pretty serviceable, 5th guy in the rotation unless, all 4 wheels fall off at once. But, the Phillies, they still have Cole Hamels. He's going to give you, a solid year. Cliff Lee, he kind of didn't do as well as everyone thought he was going to do for a large portion of last year. It took him forever to get, a win. But he finally came around towards the end of the season. And then the 2 wild cards, you've got our Kyle Kendrick, who typically pitched out of the bullpen, but he has made some starts in his career. He has some very up and down outings. And then John Lannon, the former National cast-off. That's going to be pretty interesting to see how well he pitches for the Phillies. But, when you look at this rotation as a whole, I don't think it will have that big of an effect on them because they are all professionals. But at the same time, Roy Halladay is definitely a huge cog in the success that the Phillies have had since they acquired him.
And just another side note basically here for the Phillies. They actually beat the New York Yankees in their game today 4-1. Kendrick had the win there.
Yeah, see, so he does know what he's doing on the mound. It's just a matter of being consistent and putting it all together, to have the best season possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then next they're going to take on the Red Sox, which is kind of funny. They go from taking on two basic, rivals when you see the New York Yankees taking on the Red Sox. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, when Philly does take on Boston Thursday night.
Yeah, and I mean, like we said earlier, it is only spring training, so I'm not to undermine this matchup that they're going to have coming up against the Red Sox, but I'm already looking forward to the regular season and seeing how all these pieces that they brought in the offseason are going to work together. They're going to be relying on Dominic Brown out there in right field. He hasn't really proven that he can be a consistent starter in the majors. Ben Revere is going to be starting out in center field. He hasn't really been a big offensive monster during his time in the majors so far, but he will be playing in that smaller ballpark that the Phillies have, so he may see a little uptick in the home run count. But then you've got Ryan Howard, Chase Utley, Jimmy Rollins, and Michael Young on the diamond there. Those four guys they're going to be the key four to watch. They're all fairly old, so it's going to be interesting to see how they hold up during the season.
Yeah, and Zach, you bring up a good point there that, spring training, players aren't probably trying the hardest that they will usually during the season because these games are basically just a workout, and get them prepared for what's to come in the season and, get a little glimpse at the other teams that they'll be playing against. But, yeah, as you said there, spring training doesn't really mean too much in the reality of it. But, as you said, when we come up to the actual season, that's when we'll be able to really judge, what players are going to be exceptional, what players are going that we'll see some kind of downfall coming in with them, and then stats overall coming into it.
Yeah, exactly, because in spring training, you watch these games and the starters only play for maybe anywhere from 3 to 5 innings, and then they bring in backups and other guys trying to make the squad just to see what they can bring to the table. And, once we get to the regular season and the starters are playing full games, 7 games in a row, 8 games in a row, over months and months at a time, that starts to take a toll on you. So over the long run, we'll see exactly what, this Philadelphia squad is made of.
It's about that time, and here comes that bumper music telling us to get off the air and end this show in an orderly manner. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to end this show.
Single file. Single file.
We're going to file out of our home studios here. And it's been a pleasure to bring you this 5th podcast on Rounding Third, brought to you by Podbean.com. As always, catch us at roundingthird.podbean.com. You can check our YouTube page. Just search Rounding Third, and you can find all of our podcasts sitting in there as well to listen to. You can also email us over at...
That'd be roundingthirdbase.gmail.com.
And that Facebook page is...
That'd be facebook.com/roundingthird.
And those are all the ways you can get in touch with us. If you want to hear anything talked about on the show, just hit us up. This is Chris Wilson. Alongside of me for this show was...
Zach DeLyden.
We thank you again for listening to us at Rounding Third. And here we are, signing off.